You were told you matter, that loyalty is permanent, that friendship is pure, that love is unconditional. But watch closely. The moment you stop providing something, attention, money, status, emotional support, opportunity, the energy shifts. Calls slow down. Invitations disappear. Respect fades. Not because you changed, but because your usefulness did. Think about the relationships in your life, the ones that felt solid, unshakable, built on real connection. Now think about what happened when your circumstances changed, when you lost your job, when you stopped being available, when you couldn't offer what you used to offer. How many of those relationships stayed the same? How many people stayed close when you had nothing left to give? Most people discover the answer to this question the hard way, through loss, through crisis, through becoming temporarily useless, and what they discover is uncomfortable. The permanence they believed in was conditional. The loyalty they trusted was transactional. The love they thought was unconditional had terms they never saw, because the terms were invisible, hidden beneath pleasantries, disguised as genuine connection, but they were always there. You matter when you're useful. You fade when you're not. That's not a character judgment. That's an observation. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. The question is what you do with that knowledge. Do you become bitter, or do you become strategic? Do you keep pretending the illusion is real, or do you start operating in reality? Because reality is simple. Most relationships are exchanges, and when the exchange stops serving both parties, the relationship ends. Not with drama, just with distance. And the faster you accept that, the less it hurts. This is not bitterness, it is biology. Even in tribes, survival depended on contribution. Hunters were valued. Protectors were valued. Healers were valued. But the idle? They became a liability. And modern society is no different. It just hides the transaction behind politeness. We don't say, I'm only friends with you because you provide value. We say, I enjoy your company. I appreciate you. You're important to me. But the mechanism underneath is the same. People attach to what serves them, and they detach when it stops. This isn't evil. It's human. We're wired to assess relationships based on what they provide. Safety, resources, status, emotional regulation, entertainment, validation. When a relationship delivers, we invest. When it stops delivering, we withdraw. Not consciously, instinctively. As Niccolo Machiavelli observed, people are loyal when it benefits them. Remove the benefit. Watch what remains. He wasn't being cruel. He was being accurate. He watched people swear eternal loyalty to leaders, only to abandon them the moment staying became costly. He watched alliances dissolve when advantage shifted. He watched relationships that seemed unbreakable collapse overnight. Not because people are uniquely terrible, because loyalty, real loyalty, is rare. Most of what we call loyalty is just prolonged convenience. People stay because staying is comfortable, because leaving would be awkward, because the benefits of staying outweigh the costs. But introduce real cost, real sacrifice, real inconvenience, and you see immediately what kind of loyalty you're dealing with. Convenient loyalty evaporates. Principled loyalty remains. And most loyalty is convenient. That's not cynicism. That's pattern recognition. And the faster you recognize the pattern, the less surprised you are when people leave. Stop initiating, stop offering, stop solving problems, stop being available, and observe. You'll learn more in 2 weeks of silence than in 2 years of conversation. This is the test most people are afraid to run because they know what it might reveal. That the relationships they thought were mutual are actually one-sided. That the people they thought valued them only valued what they provided. But avoiding the test doesn't change the reality. It just keeps you ignorant of it. So run the test. Stop being the one who reaches out. Stop being the one who plans. Stop being the one who gives. And watch what happens. Some will disappear quietly. They won't confront you, won't ask what's wrong, won't make effort to reconnect. They'll just fade. Because the relationship only existed because you maintained it. When you stop maintaining it, it stops existing. Some will become irritated. They'll notice you're not available anymore, not offering anymore, not solving their problems anymore. And they'll be annoyed, not concerned. Annoyed. Because you stopped fulfilling your role, and now they have to find someone else to fill it. Some will try to guilt you. They'll frame your withdrawal as selfishness, as abandonment, as you changing, because making it your fault protects them from acknowledging they were using you. Very few will stay without needing something. Very few will reach out just to connect, just to check in, just because they value you independent of what you provide. That is your real circle. Not the people who are around when you're useful, the people who stay when you're not. And that circle is usually much smaller than you think. But small and real is better than large and fake. Being needed feels powerful. It feeds the ego. You're the one people call, the one they rely on, the one they can't do without. That feels like mattering, like being important, like being valued. But it is a fragile form of power, because the moment someone no longer needs you, they no longer fear losing you. And when there is no fear of loss, there is no incentive to maintain value. Think about it. When you're constantly available, constantly solving problems, constantly offering support, you train people to depend on you. And dependency feels like connection, feels like being valued, but it's not. Dependency is transactional. They need what you provide, not you. The proof comes when they don't need it anymore, when they find another source, when their problem resolves. Suddenly they're not around as much, not as interested, not as engaged, because the need is gone, and the need was the relationship. That's why powerful individuals avoid overgiving. They remain scarce. They don't make themselves constantly available. They don't solve every problem. They don't fulfill every need. Not because they're selfish, because they understand the mechanics. Scarcity preserves perceived worth. When you're always there, you're taken for granted. When you're rarely there, you're valued. When you give constantly, your generosity becomes expected. When you give selectively, it becomes appreciated. The people who never say no become the ones nobody thanks. The people who say no strategically become the ones everyone tries to impress. It's not fair, it's just true. Being needed is comfortable, but being scarce is powerful. And power, real power, comes from being wanted, not needed, from being chosen, not depended on. Here's the deeper truth. Most people never valued you. They valued what you provided, how you made them feel, the access you gave them, the stability you represented. Once that disappears, they reassess. It feels personal, but it's structural. When someone stops calling after you lose your job, it's not because they hate you, it's because the relationship was built on what your position provided: access, status, opportunity. Without that, the relationship has no foundation. When someone distances after you set boundaries, it's not because you changed. It's because the relationship depended on your lack of boundaries, on you being available, accommodating, giving. Without that, they're not interested. When someone fades after you stop being their emotional support, it's not because they stopped caring. It's because they never cared about you. They cared about the function you served, and functions are replaceable. Even philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche warned about illusions we create to feel secure. We want permanence. We want to believe relationships are based on something deeper than utility. But life operates on leverage. People attach to what serves them. And the moment something stops serving them, they detach. That's not a moral failing. It's a survival mechanism. But understanding it changes how you move. You stop investing in relationships that are based purely on what you provide. You stop giving endlessly, hoping it will create loyalty. You start asking, would this person value me if I stopped being useful? And if the answer is no, you adjust accordingly. Not with bitterness, with clarity, because clarity protects you from wasted investment. This realization can make you bitter or strategic. Instead of demanding unconditional value, become selectively useful, not constantly available, not emotionally predictable, not easily replaceable. Value increases when access decreases. This is not manipulation. It is alignment with reality. When you understand that value is perceived through scarcity, you stop giving yourself away freely. You become selective about who gets your time, your energy, your support. Not everyone. Just the people who've proven they value it. Not constantly. Just when it serves a purpose. Not desperately. Just strategically. And that shift changes everything. Because suddenly you're not the one chasing. You're the one being chased. You're not the one hoping to be valued. You're the one deciding who deserves access. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. It's understanding that your time, your energy, your presence, they're finite resources. And finite resources should be allocated carefully, not to whoever asks, to whoever earns it. When you operate this way, people treat you differently. They don't take you for granted. They don't assume you'll always be there. They don't treat your generosity as obligation because they understand access to you is conditional. And that conditionality creates value. The person who's always available has no value. The person who's selectively available becomes valuable. It's simple economics applied to relationships. And once you understand it, you stop wondering why people don't appreciate you. You just become someone who's worth appreciating by being scarce enough that appreciation is necessary. When you stop needing to be needed, you become dangerous in a quiet way. Because now you give by choice. You withdraw without drama. You observe without reacting. And once people sense they can lose access to you, their behavior changes. Not because you demanded it, because you detached. Detachment is the ultimate power move, not because it's aggressive, because it's neutral. You're not trying to punish anyone. You're just no longer invested in being needed. You're fine if people stay, fine if they leave. You're not chasing, not performing, not proving your worth. You're just existing and letting people decide if they want access or not. That neutrality is magnetic because most people are desperate. desperate to be liked, to be needed, to be validated, and that desperation is repellent. But when you're genuinely detached, when you're not performing need or seeking validation, people notice. They sense you don't need them, and that makes them want to be needed by you. It's a reversal of the usual dynamic. Instead of you seeking their approval, they seek yours. Instead of you trying to keep them, they try to keep you, not because you manipulated them, because you stop needing them. And people are drawn to what doesn't need them. It's counterintuitive, but it's true. The moment you stop needing to be valued, you become more valuable. The moment you stop fearing loss, you become harder to lose. That's the detachment advantage. It's not coldness. It's freedom. Freedom from the need for external validation. Freedom from the fear of being alone. Freedom from performing worthiness. You just are. And people can take it or leave it. And that freedom is the quietest form of power. You were never meant to be permanently valued. You were meant to remain valuable. There's a difference. Permanent value is fantasy. Maintained value is strategy. Permanent value assumes you matter regardless of what you do, that people will stay regardless of how you show up, that relationships last regardless of investment. That's not reality. Maintained value understands that worth must be continuously demonstrated. Not desperately, just consistently. You remain valuable by remaining scarce, by maintaining standards, by not giving endlessly. And the moment you understand this, you stop chasing loyalty. You start controlling leverage. Not loudly, not emotionally, just consciously. You understand that relationships are exchanges, and exchanges require balance. When you're giving more than you're receiving, you're losing leverage. When you're receiving more than you're giving, you have it, and leverage is what determines how you're treated. People respect what they fear losing. They take for granted what they know will stay. So you become something that can be lost, not through threats, through detachment, through being genuinely fine either way, through valuing yourself enough that other people's valuation becomes optional, not essential. That's when everything shifts. You stop being the person people use. You become the person people value, not because you demanded it, because you made it necessary. By being scarce, by being selective, by being detached. And once you operate from that place, you never go back. Because awareness has always been the quietest form of power, and you're finally aware.